This is the Tom Bigby Tales. I'm your host, Shannon Evans. I write about a small town in Northeast Mississippi on the Tom Bigby River, and sometimes I write about the rest of the state. This episode is part 8 in a series about Heritage Academy and other MAIS schools, and it is titled The MAIS Football Shakedown and What It All Means. The MAIS has had a huge change in how the schools are grouped for district play in sports. It was spearheaded by Shane Blanton, the executive director of the MAIS, and released in October of this year. And ADs and headmasters were supposedly given what appears to be 2 days to protest, respond, etc. The segmenting is allegedly now based on student enrollment to create more parity. The reality, though, is something completely different. Let's unpack this. For the 2025-2026 sports season, the top 4 schools in Jackson Prep, Jackson Academy, MRA, and Hartsfield are no longer in the same district, despite being similar in student population and located in the same region. Now, each is in their own district. North District 1 includes Jackson Academy, Starkville Academy, Bayou, and Magnolia Heights. District 2 includes Hartfield, Heritage Academy, St. Joseph, Lamar, and East Rankin Academy. South District 3 includes Madison Ridgeland Academy, called MRA, Park Place Christian Academy, also called PPCA, Simpson, Brookhaven, and Park Lane. South District 4 includes Prep, Capaya, Cathedral, Silliman, and Oak Forest Academy, sometimes abbreviated as OFA. These are troublesome matchups for several reasons, including size disparity, destruction of district rivalries that have existed for years, and the presumed guarantee that the Jackson Big Four dismantled their district to each have a district championship year in and year out going forward. Let's look at school sizes within these new districts. District 1 North is Jackson Academy at 400 students, Starkville Academy at 240 students, Pillow 230, Bayou 225, and Magnolia Heights 200. Jackson Academy is twice the size of the rest of their district. In District 2 North, Hartfield has 360 students, Heritage 180, St. Joseph 240, Lamar 185, and East Rankin, also called ERA, 190. Again, Hartfield is twice the size of the rest of their district opponents, with the exception of St. Joseph, and they're at least 1/3 bigger than St. Joe. District 3 is MRA, which has 410 students, PPCA with 170 students, Simpson 190, Brookhaven 180, and Park Lane 230. Again, Jackson's Big Four team, MRA, is more than twice the size of any other school in their district. Finally, District 4 South includes Prep with 400 students, Capaya 190, Cathedral 170, Silliman 180, and Oak Forest 225 students. Prep is more than twice as large as 3 of their district teams and almost twice as large as Oak Forest. So when did Blanton do this? Was this in the works months before the summer MAIS meeting? Or did this great plan transpire after the meeting where he and his former high school girlfriend allegedly met up and played patty cake and her husband found out? Was this before or after the alleged extortion efforts? It is believed that the husband allegedly began extortion demands in August when school started and put Blanton on notice he was going to inform the MAIS board if he didn't pay up. Allegedly, the jilted husband contacted his friends at MRA, 2 former coaches from Heritage Academy who were his good friends, now living in Jackson, to ask for help with Blanton. Did events related to Heritage have any influence on this complete change in the MAIS sporting division of 20 teams? Did Blanton do it out of spite? Did he do it because it was already planned? Or did he possibly do this to try and create a way to find the money to pay for the extortion that he thought he was going to have to. You know, it's all alleged, but anything is possible in this day and age. But let's continue. The fact that now it seems inevitable that the Jackson Big Four will dominate districts for MAIS eternity. Why? How did this happen? Did Blanton have carte blanche to make these decisions? Did Blanton get the heads of schools, the athletic directors, and coaches from the Big Four together and let them decide these new divisions to punish the smaller schools and really upset the apple cart on his way out the door? If this was presented to all the schools involved, did the heads of schools know before their October 17th meeting that this was going to happen? Or did they only have until 10/22, October 22nd, to appeal or protest? We don't know. Was this Blanton trying to throw a giant monkey wrench in the MAIS championships on his way out so that Heritage and every other small school stood little to no chance of ever winning their district? Or was this Blanton kowtowing to the Big Four in hopes of keeping his job as executive director at the MAIS? Back to the two friends of the allegedly jilted husband. It is further alleged that the senior of those two friends of his who used to coach at Heritage saw this as an opportunity to oust Blanton and for one of them to possibly move over to take his position or to manipulate who gets chosen for his replacement with the MAIS. Why does this matter? Well, football is king in Mississippi high school sports, and it is a lucrative spot to many schools and coaches. There are all kinds of bonuses attached to coaches who win and win big. That's also part of what keeps them in business so that they get to come back year after year and have a job. There are more than 4 private schools in the Metro Jackson and outlying areas. With a shrinking population of available students due to reduced birth rates, schools are having to scramble to guarantee their future. A successful football program positively impacts a school's enrollment and, summarily, its new applicants, as well as the pay pool for coaches. When football teams win championships, they get increased awareness in the news, talk radio, and local chatter among football fans. Winning teams create a visibility that makes them a sought-after school for new and transfer students. It also results in well-to-do community members wanting to give money to the school and have fields and buildings named for them. This is called the goodwill effect. When schools are flush with cash from increased enrollment and wealthy benefactors, they are then able to offer scholarships and attract talent from a wider area, creating even stronger football programs, which can be a major draw for student athletes looking to further their athletic potential, something the smaller schools are often not able to do. The Big Four schools often have better resources to invest in their football programs, including coaching staff, facilities, and equipment, which can lead to higher competitive success compared to the schools half their size. Jackson Metro private schools can actively recruit talented scholarship athletes from a much larger geographic area. It can be argued that the ability to recruit widely and offer financial aid gives private schools like these Big Four an unfair advantage compared to the schools in less populated areas, especially the rural Delta private schools. When large high schools compete against smaller schools in football, the primary danger lies in a significant disparity in skill level, leading to potential for lopsided games with high injury risk for smaller school players due to constant defensive pressure, as well as potential demoralization and decreased motivation for the smaller school team, while also raising concerns about the ethical implications of such uneven competition. Smaller team players may be more susceptible to severe injuries when facing larger, physically stronger opponents or larger teams with more depth, who their players are not as tired, particularly in situations where they're constantly on defense trying to maintain a larger offensive line. Large score disparities can lead to low morale and decreased motivation for players on the smaller school team, potentially impacting their overall play. Smaller schools often have limited access to the same level of training, resources, and coaching staff of a larger school, thus creating even more of an unfair, lopsided competitive disadvantage. Smaller play Smaller school players may not get the opportunity to develop their skills against similarly sized larger school opponents, potentially hindering their growth as athletes. Some argue that scheduling such mismatched games is not in the best interest of student athletes, particularly when the smaller school is primarily playing to generate revenue for the larger school. Schools should strive to schedule opponents with similar size and skill levels to ensure their fair competition, and implementing clear divisions based on school size can help create more balanced matchups. However, that's not what's happening out there. The MAIS clearly puts football as their most important element of their influence among their member schools. These new divisions impact not just football, but soccer, basketball, baseball, etc., for both the girls and the boys. This means that the Big Four schools have the potential to dominate in every sport, removing all sense of fair play from the field. Why? It would seem they are putting winning at any cost among the top 20 schools above the safety of their students. We will see an increase in concussions among players on the smaller school teams. A new study has diagnosed the degenerative brain disease, chronic traumatic encephalopathy, and boy, did I just butcher that, CTE, essentially, in more than 40% of youth and high school athletes, primarily football players, who were exposed to repetitive head impacts from contact sports, and they are dying before the age of 30. In mismatched football games, the potential for traumatic neck and head injury, CTEs, for the smaller teams almost doubles in every game. The same goes for knee, elbow, spinal, and shoulder injuries. When games where smaller schools with less depth play against schools with 2 and 3 player deep position, heat stroke and heat exhaustion is a serious potential, especially in our Mississippi climate, where football is played in 90-degree plus high humidity games. It seems that the MAIS and the member schools are happily headed to some child's major injury in order to assuage some men's egos, perceived slights, or just plain hubris. Was this all Blanton's doing? Was there a cabal formed to make this happen? Who stands to benefit the most, and why was it allowed to happen? Is Blanton or the Big Four behind this huge potential to lock up all the MAIS private school and potential D1 offers to players? And how does this impact the kids, especially kids who are trying to get noticed by college coaches and get recruited for potential scholarships? In many of the sports, losing negatively impacts your chances of getting noticed. College football coaches want to know a student's rushing defense, their rushing offense, sacks allowed, scoring defense, scoring offense, tackles for loss allowed, team passing efficiency defense, turnovers gained, turnovers lost, turnover margins, the team's winning percentage. Playing on a team with unremarkable stats in their division will not garner scholarship offers for football players. In basketball, recruiters look for points per possession and adjusted defensive efficiency in trying to understand how a team is performing. College coaches are also looking at which lineups have been effective and why, and how much defensive value a player brings to any team they're on. It will also look at this player's individual efficiency, their play-by-play impact, and the defensive strength of their teammates. Coaches, even today, are out there at recruiting at private and public schools using heat maps to understand shooting efficiency and frequency by zone of potential players. They want to see conversions. They don't care what your team is outsized and out-hustled due to bench depth, because how they play at the end of the day and what the score is still matters. College baseball coaches are looking for players' batting averages, their on-base percentage, earned run average, their walks, their strikeouts, their innings pitched, their strikeout per inning. Soccer coaches want to see individual stats like assists per game, game-winning goals, goals per game, points per game, penalty kicks, goalie minutes played. They want to look at the technical skills and your ability to dribble, pass, and shoot. They want to see your one-on-one ability and your ability to beat defenders with multiple moves, and so much more. If your team is constantly on defense, outsized and outmatched, it's difficult to demonstrate that player's offensive strengths fairly for a college recruiter to see them in person or on film. So, why is this not being challenged? Is Heritage Academy concerned about the turn of events for their players? Did they lodge a protest or ask for any alterations to the schedule? Are there any current negotiations going on to change this? Are parents at Heritage even informed about this change for next year and the impact this has on their kids? Or did this get missed because the now retired boys athletic director, Yandel Harris, was allegedly embroiled in his own scandal and the head of school was too busy coaching football to take notice of these events? Or maybe the head of school likes the idea of playing Hartfield and St. Joe with their superior numbers. Perhaps he believes Heritage stands a chance of winning against superior size and numbers, and then he can have the school play in the big district gold medal playoff against MRA or Prep or Jackson Academy. If I had a son at Heritage or any non-Big Four school in the MAIS, there's no way I would let him play football in this new division. Mark my words, it is not if someone gets seriously injured in this division, it is when. There is so much to unpack in this mess that Blanton has left to the MAIS with his departure. Who is really behind it? If this is really a case of grown men in pissing matches with personal beefs creating unsafe environments for student athletes, this is the stuff of documentaries and Friday Night Lights type movies. More importantly, who is going to fix this mess and when? Who is really behind all of this and why? Blanton? Perhaps. Who stands to financially gain the most from the Big Four Jackson cabal that the MAIS has now formed? Thank you for coming on my podcast, The Tom Bigby Tales. Until next time.